Really? So when you saw the Paris Olympics and you saw two gold medal winners in women's boxing who actually were born with biological male chromosomes, you think that's right?
There is nothing to the story that the boxer that prevailed was ever a man.
Wow.
Just nothing.
And yet you know
nothing.
that
There's no evidence of it. It was a viral right-wing story based on nothing.
Hang on, you know that boxer was banned from the World Championships precisely because there is evidence. You know that, right?
Yes. Do you know the details of that, Piers? Do you know? Tell the full story. Go ahead, tell the full story.
That boxer was banned, along with the other one, from the World Championships because it has been reported that they tested positive for male chromosomes, right? If you know better, tell me.
That's not the full. I do know better, and I will tell you.
In this engaging video, David Pakman effectively shuts down Piers Morgan during a heated debate. They delve into several major topics, including Trump's McDonald's visit, Kamala Harris's use of identity politics, and the contentious issue of transgender athletes in sports. It's a riveting discussion that touches on some of today's most debated topics. Be sure to watch until the end to see how David Pakman uses compelling arguments to counter Piers Morgan.
To Trump going to McDonald's was fascinating to watch from here across the pond, because I can't think of a smarter stunt, frankly, given all the furore over whether Kamala ever did actually work at McDonald's. And honestly, from everything I've read, I don't think she did, because absolutely no one can remember her ever being there. But putting that to one side, he goes there and he does this stunt. But it's, you know, McDonald's is such an iconic piece of Americana. It's the kind of all-inclusive place where everyone can afford to go there. Pretty much anyone could end up running a franchise if you work hard enough and you get a bit of luck and a fair wind behind you. And there he is in his hatch, having fries and fries, handing out packages. And yet all I saw from the left was a lot of scorn and mockery, as if somehow him doing this was something to be laughed at. I did not see it that way. I thought this was really smart politics by Trump. And actually what the Democrats should have done was just very quickly move on and find something better to talk about, rather than looking like they think this is somehow all rather demeaning, because that's not how regular Americans would have seen it. Discuss.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I spoke about this 5 minutes on Monday and I've moved on. So I agree with you. I mean, I'm only talking about it now because you brought it up. I don't think it was as brilliant as maybe you're suggesting. You know, they closed down a store and hurt that store financially on that day in terms of sales. And Trump at the end of the day saw it as something to help him. If he had gone there, well, hold on a second. I'm one sentence in. If he had gone there and said, I put on the apron, I did the fry-o-later, and now I recognize that a $7.25 minimum wage, which has been the same almost 20 years, isn't going to cut it. That would have been really interesting and shown he cares about someone other than himself. Instead, it was about rehearsed drive-through and wearing the apron
you see,
and pretending
David, here's
to
the
know
problem.
what's going
I'm going to
on.
jump
And
in
it's Kamala Harris who said, I support a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Piers Morgan begins by praising Trump's visit to a McDonald's a few months ago, where Trump briefly worked at the fry station. Morgan touts it as a brilliant political maneuver to connect with everyday Americans. He also tries to involve Kamala Harris in the discussion, but David Pakman counters by acknowledging the potential political value of Trump's action. However, Pakman points out that the visit missed its mark since the McDonald's was closed for the day, negatively impacting the franchise financially. Pakman highlights a significant missed opportunity, noting Trump could have addressed the pressing issue of raising the minimum wage, which has remained at $7.25 for 2 decades. Instead, the visit turned into a mere spectacle for the cameras. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has been actively advocating for a $15 minimum wage, making Morgan's attempt to drag her into the conversation ultimately counterproductive.
Familiar with the phrase clutching at straws? I hope that.
I'm sorry, you glitched. What's the phrase?
Does the phrase clutching at straws cross the pond in a way that you understand?
Piers, you brought this topic up.
No, what I'm saying
at nothing
is,
other than
you saying the only
lead.
way it could work would be if Trump banged on about the minimum wage. You're missing the point. David, the thing is, I want to play a clip from MSNBC. Obviously, you hate Trump with a pathological violence. But they went out and spoke to people in the street, and this happened.
Trump talks about this a lot. He says, you know, Kamala Harris became black when it was convenient.
Yeah.
Can you Can you talk to me about, do you agree with him on that? Do you feel like she's wearing her blackness?
Absolutely. When she sworn to the Senate, it was as the first Indian American.
Thank you.
Which is, it's fine. We don't care.
We all know she's not black. Let's understand that. We are all clear of that. But my point of view is, like I told you earlier, she's already been there. She's in office right now.
I mean, David, that's pretty devastating when you hear that for Kamala Harris, isn't it? They all think she's a bit of a phony who's basically using them as a community.
Those two people did say that, but if you look at any public opinion survey, this is not ranking anywhere, and there still seems to be confusion about the concept of being biracial. But no, I don't think that's really devastating at all. And in fact, I think that I don't know what interviews Brandon's been watching, but she just did an interview yesterday with NBC where she was almost goaded by the interviewer. Why aren't you talking about being a woman and being black? And she said, people can tell what my identity is. I'm running on policy, and then people can judge the identity however they want. She's stepped away from identity politics, which I think is fantastic.
Piers Morgan opens by targeting David Pakman, accusing him of grasping at straws concerning a clip from MSNBC in which a couple of commentators criticize Kamala Harris for allegedly using her identity to gain favor. Piers labels this as devastating, claiming it casts Harris as inauthentic. However, David Pakman quickly counters this by pointing out that the opinions of just two people do not represent the majority view. He references public opinion polls showing that voters are more interested in Harris's policies than her identity. Pakman also highlights Piers' failure to appreciate the complexities of being biracial in America. As a result, Piers Morgan's argument collapses, and David Pakman skillfully steers the conversation back to the substantive issues of Harris's leadership, avoiding the pitfalls of identity politics. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in more content like this.
David, let me ask you this.
Politics as a cudgel.
David, let me ask you this. One of the things she stands for, along with Joe Biden, is she has done nothing while they've been in office to stem this, in my view, horrendously unfair situation of trans athletes competing in women's sport. And an astonishing survey has just come out today by the United Nations that reveals that female athletes have lost 900 medals to transgender rivals competing against them in women's sporting categories. This is a UN report. That's 600 female athletes in more than 400 competitions have lost nearly 900 medals in 29 different sports. When the average American sees that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris now support this unfairness, and that's what it is. It's just unfair. It's nothing to do with being transphobic or anything else. It's just unfair. And when it's supported by a report like that from the UN, that's one of her problems too, is that people think they're supporting the indefensible. They lack basic common sense. What do you say to that?
I'm struggling to think that you're taking this any more seriously than as something that might generate clicks on YouTube, Piers.
Wow, you don't think that's serious?
Hold on, Piers, I can't even get a sentence out.
What, you don't think it's serious?
Hold on a second. The vast majority of those instances in the UN report are outside the United States and have nothing to do with the president or vice president of the United States at its face. And secondly, I would challenge you to tell me the quotes that Biden or Harris have put forward wherein they have weighed in on how sports leagues should be handling these decisions. But 92% of that study is not even in the US. So I don't even know why you're bringing this up.
Piers Morgan brings up a UN report alleging that 900 medals have been unfairly won by transgender athletes in women's sports, criticizing Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for their supposed lack of response. However, David Pakman quickly dismantles this claim, pointing out that most of these incidents are outside the U.S., thus not directly relevant to the actions of Biden and Harris. Pakman accuses Morgan of spreading misinformation and challenges him to present evidence of any official stance Biden and Harris might have on how sports should manage transgender athletes. David argues that Piers is attempting to inflame a complex issue merely to generate clicks, emphasizing that there's more noise than substance in Morgan's arguments.
What's that got to do with the principle of the principle?
I'm sorry?
What's that got to do with the principle?
Well, the principle is you're saying Kamala Harris and Biden have come out in support of this.
They do. They support policies which actively protect. They support policies that protect transgender athletes performing in women's sport. And I think that is madness. You're saying, well, because most of these things in this UN report were outside of America, it doesn't matter. It does matter.
What I'm saying, it's a completely contrived issue that almost no one cares about in every single opinion poll.
Wow. You see, I think that's incredibly deluded. People do care about it. They care about the integrity of women's sport.
It just doesn't show up in any opinion poll as a primary issue. Not top 10, not top 20.
Out of interest, do you think...
They care about it, but it doesn't show up in a single poll.
What's your view? Do you think it's fair?
I think that it depends on the sport, and I think we need to talk about this for probably 90 minutes to really have a productive conversation.
Really? So when you saw the Paris Olympics and you saw 2 gold medal winners in women's boxing who actually were born with biological male chromosomes, you think that's right?
That is not the truth as far as I understand it.
Really?
I don't know who you're talking about. If you can name them, then maybe we can get into more detail.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. It was well publicized.
Well, tell me. Tell me who you're talking about.
I can't remember their exact names. There were 2 gold medal winners. Well, I can find them now if it helps you. I don't know why the names matter.
The one who was the source of a lot of viral articles was born a woman, always lived as a woman, and always competed as a woman. I'm sorry?
What was her name?
Imani something.
All right, so you don't know either. So don't be quite so patronizing if you don't know either. But the truth is...
Well, you're bringing it up, Piers. See, here's the thing. Hold on a second, Piers. Hold on a second. You do this all the time, Piers. You bring something up. And then you evaluate your guest's opinion as to how much it matters. You brought it up. If it doesn't actually matter, don't bring it up.
No, just to be clear, you were haranguing me for not remembering the name. I said the name's irrelevant. What's relevant is whether the gold medal winners have biological male chromosomes when they're getting into a boxing ring
they do not.
And punching women in the face so hard that one of the women competitors, a female, quit after 45 seconds.
Yes,
because she'd never been hit that hard.
There is nothing to the story that the boxer that prevailed was ever a man.
Wow.
Just nothing.
And yet you know
nothing.
that
there's no evidence of it. It was a viral right-wing story based on nothing.
Hang on, you know that boxer was banned from the World Championships precisely because there is evidence. You know that, right?
Yes. Do you know the details of that, Piers? Do you know? Tell the full story. Go ahead, tell the full story.
That boxer was banned, along with the other one, from the World Championships because it has been reported that they tested positive for male chromosomes, right? If you know better, tell me.
That's not the full... I do know better, and I will tell you. That was done by a Russian lab who had an interest in disqualifying her because it jeopardized the undefeated record of a Russian boxer. It's just, that's all they have, and it's totally debunked. Piers, I thought you were better than this.
It's not debunked, and you'll regret saying that because it's true.
To wrap this up, Piers Morgan attempted to escalate the issue of transgender athletes and related policies into a major controversy, but David Pakman was not swayed. He criticized Piers for lacking comprehensive details and highlighted that much of the argument was irrelevant to the U.S. context. It was evident throughout the debate that David wasn't letting Piers propagate a narrative without solid evidence. He remained calm, stuck to the facts, and effectively dismantled Piers's arguments. Piers, in the end, seemed to be grasping at straws, trying to keep the discussion alive. What are your thoughts on this? Drop a comment below, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe for more analytical breakdowns like this.